Okay, so we are live. So welcome to my audience. Welcome to those watching live. And welcome to those who are watching on the replay. So my guest today, I haven't actually said your name, but I'm going to go with Rakia. Is that right? Zakia.
Zakia.
Sorry, Zakia. So Zakia Ringgold, right?
Yes, you got it.
Perfect. So my opening monologue is always the same. I never introduce my guests purely for the fact that I don't think I would do a very good job. And I would much prefer that you just introduce yourself, give any context that you would like, any highlights, any lowlights that you think is worthwhile for the audience to know about you. And then we can dive into our conversation.
Sure. Well, first off, Colin, thank you for having me with your audience. But hello, everyone. My name is Zakia Ringgold. I am a soap maker, but I didn't start out trying to build a soap company, a tech company, a framework. I started with a hobby and a live stream. And I was making soap and went live one day. So, with just something that I love, just to show the process, no funnel, no strategy, no website. I just kept showing up. And what caught my attention wasn't the views, although we got into the thousands of live viewers and comments, it was the repetition of it all and the pattern that I was seeing. So the same questions, the same sticking points, the same confusion week after week. So instead of planning harder, I started building small systems. And I think we're going to get into that, Colin,
Yeah.
around what was already happening, like my replays, my routines, documenting. And that one live stream turned into a business, not because it went viral, but because I stopped starting over every single time. I won't give you the whole history of it, but from there, I created Live Soap School, which is an online academy that teaches soap making. Of course, I have Natural Soap by Zakia. When the pandemic hit, I pivoted into virtual events and started producing over 150 virtual events for libraries, universities, and nonprofits. To my later iteration, when the world opened back up, which is now Business Tech Lab, which you see right below me there, where I help organizations and small business owners to leverage different systems, of course, AI, in growing their business and their brand online.
Amazing. There's so many threads to pull on in your story. I'm gonna start with a couple of compliments. And I've said this, so the first time that we met, your voice is absolute. I said to you, I think it's like honey. It's absolutely in my ears, it's absolutely beautiful. And I think what comes with that is this calmness and just this ability to explain something in such a very really nice way. And I think what I took away from our conversation was that you seem to understand things that a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to make complicated, and you just make it easy to understand. So I think your voice, the way you are, the calmness and the way that you can take something that's complicated and make it so easy to understand and sort of enjoyable to almost want to hear the next sentence of what's coming, how this is. I think it's absolutely amazing. So I took that away, and we're going to dig into that now. But should we start with the soap making? So, like you said, it just came out of nowhere. So we'll just dig into it just to give a bit
Sure.
of context for it. So, how did it actually start, and what did you do?
So it started with postpartum depression. So I had, and then that I'm going to jump into what you said about that calmness and the teaching and easy to understand. Um, I spent 15 years in corporate America as starting at a help desk, then doing in person training, and then ending up doing online training. And so I think a lot of that experience is what translated into the methodology and the way that I'm able to make things simple. But with the soap, it was I wasn't necessarily looking for a hobby. I found myself doom scrolling on YouTube and I stumbled on a video. There was no sound on the video. It was just the pouring of the soap, the mixing of the colors, the slow intention of it that really captured my attention. And I didn't realize the video was about 60 minutes long. And I sat there watching it and I was stuck. And and if any of my family and my friends know me, they will tell you when I latch on to something, I have to learn it inside and out. I need to be able to explain it, do it, and all of that. So I ended up buying maybe about 60 books that had soap in the title. So I gathered all of these ingredients. And when I initially stumbled on Periscope, which was the live streaming app I used to live stream, I thought that I was going to teach people how to teach people because that was my area of expertise. Nobody watched those. And in passing, I mentioned that I had this hobby of making soap. And this is when I was still learning it. I was not an expert in it. It was just something that I was interested in. And it went from me getting all of those ingredients, putting them on my kitchen counter, turning the camera on, and that was just a phone. I didn't have a fancy tripod or anything like that. I sat it in I don't know if you have this in England where you have the to-go cups where it'll carry all of your cups. So
Oh,
it'll be
yeah.
like, let's say you get 4 drinks from the store. So I used that to hold my phone. And then I went live and we instantly had about 100 people live in the audience sending comments and all of this. I'm like, you want me to talk about soap? I can do that, especially because I just read 75, 60 books on it. So that was what started it. It was what I thought I should be doing showed me, and I watch patterns. I look for patterns in everything that I do. And I saw that nope, first of all, I wasn't even comfortable doing it was a drain for me to do that. And I lit up when I was doing the soap. So number 1, I enjoyed it. Number 2, the audience immediately took to it. And there was no other maker, and this was 2015, so I need to put some timing on it. There were no other people on the platform, so it wasn't saturated. I was early enough um, that were doing handmade crafts. Everyone was posturing. I'm the website expert. I'm the email expert. I didn't know anything about the online business world or anything like that. So that was where the soap came in.
So in there, there's so much wisdom because I come across a lot of people now that I think want to start their own business. And maybe they're either been made redundant or they're still in a job but would desperately like to start something. And I think there's this moment where people say, oh, I'm not that interesting, or I don't have a lot to share. But in what you were saying, when you were talking about soap, you just lit up. And I think that's the key thing. And it's some people think, oh, they have to have like huge value, or it's got to be something massive,
No.
but it isn't. And I want that sort of message to land with people. People are interesting. Don't think that you're not. We are all interesting. I've often found the people that say they're not interesting the most interesting. And I think it's just a barrier they've put up or a story that they're telling themselves. But what happens often on these lives, when I get to speak to someone that's maybe a bit nervous about being on camera, when I actually talk to them about the thing that they're really good at, or that they're really passionate about, they come alive. They forget the camera's there. They're just, yeah. And that for me is just amazing, just to watch that. And it is the words, but it's the energy, the way that it comes across. And I found that very infectious. I found myself almost forgetting that I was live streaming. It was just like, yeah, this is engaging. I just want to know more. And I want to encourage people to sort of get past that, because there is this block. And, in your story, you said, the way that you did things was just, you didn't have all the equipment, you didn't have everything. And I think, we'll get into sort of technology in a second, but we seem to get into this world where we go, okay, we need all of these things. We need a website. We need this email stuff. And I've been through that myself, and it's just basically excuses or perfectionism to get in the way to actually doing the thing. But more importantly than that, you actually went live trying to based on an assumption that you thought you could teach other people to teach, and it was something else. But I don't see that. Or some people would see that as a failure. I don't actually see that as a failure. I see that as a success because it's a learning,
Yep.
and it's like, oh, okay, I was expecting this, but there's no way for you to have known that unless you'd have done it. And I think that's what a lot of us are scared about, just doing something, putting ourselves out there, and just it not working. But the reality is, if you do that, it's often the thing behind it or some pattern, like you said, that shows up. But you're never going to get there unless you do the thing in front. And I think that's, I think if we have that in our mindset and just say, look, just go and do it anyway, that might not be the thing. It might lead to something else. I think people would actually sort of open up, and it's just that experimenting side of things.
For sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with attempting to fit in someone else's box, right? Because I watched the live streams and I saw kind of the structure of it and what they were doing. And I thought I saw a need for eventually the coaches and the consultants were going to offer a course. That was the bread and butter of Periscope days. But I know as from my background as an instructional designer, normally when you are the expert in something, it makes it really difficult for you to distill that into something that a beginner can do. So I felt like that's where I fit. But the problem with that and what you were describing is that wasn't my box to fit into. It wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And had I not tried that, to your point, I would have never ever known that. So one thing I would say is make sure you're not shrinking yourself to fit into a box. And then also let the demand from your audience tell you where to dig deeper. Don't necessarily try, because what'll happen is it becomes analysis paralysis. Well, I don't have a website, but in order to have a website, I have to have a logo. What's my color scheme? What are the pages that I need? You're going to go down that whole path for something that your audience probably doesn't even want. And that's going to be very difficult if you are in business. I would really say dig into what people ask you the most about, not what you want people to ask you the most about. Like, I really wish people would ask me about instructional design. Please don't. Please don't. But what are they asking you about and what are you naturally gifted at? And I hear that a lot about the live video. I was very, very fortunate in that I was live streaming before it was mainstream. Like it was just a smaller population. And I watched us all figuring it out before you had like the lower thirds and being able to switch the screens. And so I was fortunate there, but something that I learned was some people are naturally comfortable with video, some are great with audio, some are great with written text. And because of the various platforms that we have, you don't necessarily have to be on camera. You can still get your message out with your voice, with your writing, or on video. And eventually, and now with AI, you can translate it to those other mediums that you're just not as comfortable with. But video is important.
Yeah, I am. I think something else I take from that is you're very self-aware, because a lot of people they can't. So you said, people that are very good at something, they just sort of go in and they're not aware of, they can't create the distance between, okay, I'm doing this but my audience wants this. But you were able to step away from yourself to go, oh, okay, and you can see the pattern, and you're aware, okay, that's obvious. Is that something that you've always been good at, or just through this? Is it because of you saw data, or are you just that aware of yourself anyway?
I think it's a later awareness. I was not conscious that that's what I was doing. But as I look back at even my career, going all the way back to 2002, I've always been able to watch from a distance, okay, this is what's happening and put the patterns together. I don't know why that is. It may just be a gift that I have. So even, and the reason I say that is I started out with instructor led training, in person training. That's before e-learning came around, and that was the impetus of online. And with e-learning, everything went to those 100 slide deck presentations. They tried to condense that all. And I saw immediately, I said to my manager, I said, this is not going to last long. It's great for efficiency, getting the check mark, but people are going to drown this out. They're not going to be, and that's what happened. So the pendulum shifted. It went from everything in person to everything online. And then it had to come back to this middle point of some in person, some online. That's the sweet spot. Going up to live streaming, I knew instantly in 2015 when I saw it, I said, this is going to be the barrier, or it's going to eliminate that need for a middleman. And I have so many creatives and small business owners and just people that are really good with their hands in my network. And I instantly knew that if I could learn this with something as simple as soap, teaching was always the thing. I would be able to translate everything that I learned so that they could then grow their whatever it was. It's amazing how, so that was 2015, 2020, and I'm pointing this pattern out as I'm saying it out loud, right? 2020, I had already been using Zoom for 3 years for um the soap making classes. And when 2020 came, I could not understand why in the world is everybody shutting down. And I said, let's do a virtual soap summit with that. And my idea was I had built my business online, and my entire industry, they were dependent on craft shows, vending events, and things like that. And I knew that if they embraced the online, they could grow. And they were the audience I was after anyway when I said, oh, live streaming is the thing. And so, and then now with AI and all of that, I'm seeing that same pendulum shift. Everybody saying, let's hurry up and get everything AI, which is going to be too much. It's going to come back to a middle ground. And so that's where I'm really focusing now with that middle ground. So long answer, I did not realize it until maybe I've had a chance to sit in silence and really look at things since June. And I see that that is the complete through line to what I do.
So there's two parts I want to get into. The first one goes back to something you were saying earlier. I think when people don't know what to talk about, so this occurred to me myself. We do things sometimes so easily that we have no idea that that's the thing that we're good at. Yeah. And because we think it's easy, we don't realize that it's something that other people can't do. And it took me a while to try and understand what that was for myself. And because oftentimes we don't maybe compliment other people, we tend to sort of be more negative to other people, or, if people are jealous, or we look at the negative side. I'm a big believer in paying compliments. If I see someone do a great presentation, I'm all in. I'm going to go and see them, even if it feels a bit cringy. I'm like, I just need them to know that it's great. And sometimes you can shock people because you can see that they don't realize that they're really good at something. And I think that sometimes that's even harder to look at yourselves, because people just go, oh, well, that's Colin, that's what he does. But no one actually tells you that you're good at it. And from the inside out, you just go, well, yeah, but that's how everyone does it, right?
Yep.
Because you just think that way. So if people are struggling at the moment, going, oh, okay, I don't know, what I would talk about or do or live stream or anything as a business, I would suggest go and speak to the people closest to you, maybe the people that you work with, and not just say, oh, what am I good at, but what would you come to me for? What do you see in me? And that might give a window into, okay, this is something else, and it'll be a different perspective. And it doesn't have to be cringy, it can just be genuine. Just say, look, what do you see in terms of skills? Because I'm thinking about appraisals and stuff like that. In the past, they always focused on your weaknesses. But if you actually go to your friends and family and colleagues and just go, okay, and ask that question and be a bit curious, and there might be a pattern in that people will sort of come to you with, and it probably is something that you overlook yourself. So I just sort of wanted to park that, but I think if people are struggling to know, then go and ask the people around you. I think that's the best place.
Absolutely.
Now I want to jump back to your AI point, and I think this is such an important point because AI is everywhere, right? It's the buzzword on everyone's lips, AI, AI, AI. And I actually had lunch with an ex-colleague the other day, and he works in a relatively new company. Let's say it's been there 10 years, sort of corporate, quite contained, regulated, etc. And he said that basically management have said to them, yes, use AI. So they're using Copilot, so Microsoft Copilot, for all of their work. Now, the problem with that, I said, but everyone now is just looking to have AI in every single thing that they do. And that's just ridiculous. And we have this expression, years ago, I worked in projects. It says, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yep.
And it's just like, yeah. And so there is a lot of energy and a lot of time, money spent in a lot of misdirections, just trying to put AI in, just so you can say to the people outside, yes, we use AI. But in reality, you're making life a lot harder. You could just do that as a human thing. It won't take you that much. The effort and the problems it's going to cause you if it goes wrong. And I'm not saying AI is not a great thing, because it is. But like you say, we've gone so far out here, and we've just gone crazy. People need to calm down a little bit and go, okay, how do we get there? What do you think we need to do to get there? Is it we have to go through this pain to get back here, or what is it? What do you think is happening?
There's definitely going to be the pain, only because that's what's loud and noisy right now. There's a new tool, the biggest gurus or to the smallest gurus, or you got to use it, you got to use it. But I think it all has to do with orientate. When the pendulum comes back, it's going to be orientation. One one thing that I've realized is AI never enters neutrally. It comes into an environment and it takes on the culture of whatever is there. So I've worked with 4 very different use cases where AI seemed to be the answer coming in. The biggest or the cleanest example I have is a food truck owner, and she wanted to get better with her digital marketing or create a marketing campaign. And she thought I would just use AI, have it create all of these captions and schedule to social media. When we looked at it, it wasn't that she didn't have the capacity, the time, or any of that. It was just that her closing at the end of the day was so fragmented that she had no creative energy left to go ahead and create those things. So what we did was, I call it my orientation session back in the train. We orient people to where they are and what systems already exist. Even if you haven't named them, especially if you're in business, your business is running on a system. I think I even have a blog post on that. Your business already has a system, even if you haven't named it. So what we did was we did a closing checklist for her before she starts the day, or before she leaves for the day. So when she comes in, she's not facing all of those challenges. So AI never even entered that conversation. That was all just things that she does. Where AI did come in and where her creativity sparked and energy and everything was, I then told her about Suno. I don't know. Are you familiar with Suno?
Yeah, yeah.
So Suno is a tool that allows you to either generate lyrics or just tell it the topic that you want. It will create an entire song for you. So she just put in her hopes and dreams for her business. That's where the light bulb went off. And then she ended up with a jingle that she was excited to then go and create this content for her social media, right? Without, and we created a simple marketing plan, but we only infused AI when we knew what lever and where she was in the process, not beforehand for a tool for the tool's sake.
Yeah, I think that's and this is something I got from our previous conversation. It's actually about people and processes and
Yes.
systems. And so one of the things that we talked about is that there's going to be a million people out there. Well, I don't know a million, but let's say thousands of people that are going to tell you, okay, look, these are the apps that I use these, but they don't apply to everything. And what I like about your approach is you see the human, you see the systems, you see the processes, and then you recommend, not recommend and then
Try and make it fit.
because that's, and we used to have this thing that in projects saying to automate a bad system just means you've got an automated bad system. It's not. You need to look at the what's going on, and oftentimes because you're so close to the work, you're doing it daily, you assume a lot of things. Okay, I need to do this, I need to send this report, this thing has to be done at this time, and you get so close to it that you can't see it. And you need just to be able to go to someone like you and to say, look, can you have a look at this, and break it down? And not in a, I know there are some people going, well, that's just stupid what you're doing, but just look at it and just go, okay, and just ask some nice, simple questions. They don't have to be complicated. I think the best questions are often very simple. Okay, why do you do that? And, not in a accusatory way, just, okay, what's going on? Explain it to me. And then you can uncover all of this stuff. There's a ton of things going on. Okay, I did this, for a client, 6 years ago that they now left, and I'm still running this report. And it's like, okay, so and that often is the thing that it's a block that why they haven't done something in the past. They go, well, we'd like to automate it, but we can't do it because of this one report. And you go, oh, okay, you don't actually need that report. And I think it's super interesting because your approach is not, okay, this framework, go and do it. It's, okay, let's have a look at what you've got. And that, I think, is really, really important because, like you say, if everyone's just trying to throw AI in, I think potentially that could be, there's a lot of money being spent, a lot of energy, and quite, if you've spent those two things, your business can be in a lot of danger, financially. And, and like you said, the enthusiasm this lady had from doing this jingle, it's like, oh, okay. And then when you find enthusiasm, people do things a lot easier and things move a lot quicker, in my experience. Is that how you're finding things?
Absolutely. There has to be a certain level of being seen, right? And without the shame or the guilt. Like, I know that should be is something that a lot of business owners struggle with. I should be further along. I should be better at this. I should be um, more profitable. Whatever the should be is, first of all, we have to dismantle that, because that's typically an external something or just unrealistic expectations that we've set. So once that is dismantled, then the guardrails come down, and I don't want to say we are much more adept to being in flow with whatever it is that we need to create at that point. But if all of that is there and it's stopping us from doing that, it's very difficult to have any momentum. And I'm going to go back to, just because it's a perfect example, using AI wrong. Now let's go back to my live streaming, and if I would have put the nail in the coffin and said, I'm going to teach instructional design, and then I layered on top of that AI to create all of these social media captions, speaking to the wrong audience, speaking to the wrong thing. AI did its job because it's trained on, oh, you said you're somebody who teaches people how to teach people, right? But now I have podcast episodes. I have a whole content calendar around it. It's auto scheduling. It's doing everything it's supposed to do, but there's a mismatch because that's not my business. And you can apply that to every tool, every instance on when the tool comes first before the person or understanding the business, it's going to be broken. But AI didn't break it.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's the thing. We can then use AI as the excuse to say that's why my business didn't work, and that's so. I've often found in my own life, I put things in the way to avoid doing the thing that I should really be doing,
We're
and
planning.
it annoys me. I know it's done, and I also find it very difficult when someone points it out to me because I already know, and I'm a bit like, oh yeah, yeah. But do you find that? Do you think people already know, or do you think they're not that aware when you speak to them? They don't see these things.
Already know what? Tell me more about that.
They already know the thing that they should be doing. So let's say
Oh,
their
yeah.
business is not quite working, but they know that they should be doing something, or where they're spending their energy isn't the wisest, but that for some reason they can't stop themselves. It's either an excuse that. So I give an example. They should be speaking to their customers more, but they don't like to be on the telephone or something like that, or they fear rejection or something. Do you come across most
Oh, yeah.
people already know that?
Oh, yeah. They know that. They're trying to find the other thing they could be doing in place of what they should be doing. Um, I would say maybe about 80% of people. The other 20% are struggling because of, I call it the noise, the internet noise of just scrolling on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok and trying to fit into one of those molds. But for a large percentage of people who've been in business for a while, they know they should be doing the sales calls. They know they need to do the follow up. They need to have different processes in place or better accounting. Whatever the thing is, it's shown itself. And they're choosing because either it's a weakness, something they don't know how to do, or it's something that they're just very uncomfortable with doing. I talked about having, as a small business owner, knowing the difference between when you need a coach, when you need a consultant, when you need a course, and then when you need a contractor. There are four very different outcomes depending on what it is that you need as a business owner. So when we're talking about those internal things that you know you should be doing, that's when that coach comes in, right? Because they're going to hold that mirror up. They're not going to do the work. They're going to force you into decision mode for you to do it. And then if you don't know how to do it, that's when you have the two lanes of either a course, because I don't have the money to pay someone, but I can learn it and do it, or I have a contractor that I'm going to pay and do the thing that I need to have done. And then the consultant is, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Please help me. And then they're going to be the expert to do that. So I think another thing is sometimes there's a mismatch with the resources that are available to small business owners so that they know which one to pull into their ecosystem in order to help move their business forward. Motivation and all of that, that's not going to sustain a business. Systems will. Systems and infrastructure.
I've never heard that approach before. That's really smart. Those four different things that you need, a coach, etc. I've never heard anyone say that before, which is really something quite pivotal. And that because then I was thinking, oh, back to the example of people were thinking AI is going to do the thing that you can't do, and so I was just thinking about the phone call. Yeah, AI could maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's systems out there that can make a phone call and speak to people already, but it's actually why you need to speak to your customers is to build trust, understand exactly what they want, and you can't put a system in place that you can't do yourself. And so you need to take that step back and see what's going on and have a coach and sort of say, okay, well, why is it that I'm not doing that? I don't like speaking on the telephone or whatever it is. And yeah, it's that's such a. How did you come up with those four things? Is that you saw that in yourself, or you just, yeah? How did you get to that sort of decision?
I think it's the training background, but then also watching the patterns in the live streaming early days. Everyone was offering what they were calling a course, and I would look at the outcomes. I'm like, you're not transferring knowledge, skill, or ability. That's the definition of a course. You have to be able to transfer something. Many of them were disguised as courses, but they were actually coaching programs, which is in my mind, like mindset. You think about a football coach as an example. They don't get out there and throw the ball. They're coaching you with an innate skill that you have to bring it to the optimal position. So many of the people that were latching on to these courses because they thought they were getting a skill would come back and be upset because, yeah, I had the mindset shift, but I still can't move forward. I don't
Mm.
have the tactical thing that I thought I was getting with this course that I got from this coaching program. So I would watch those comments and the reviews and all of that. And then for the consultant, again, this comes back to orientation. You can't help somebody if you don't know where they are. And that's that large swath of everybody should be using ChatGPT as an example. But why? What are they trying to accomplish? And that's where that consultant piece came in. And for me, that was my experience. I didn't know what I didn't know about starting a business coming from the corporate space. So I couldn't really go to a coach because they were telling me, you can do it. What's the it? What's the it? A course, what was I going to take a course in? Setting up my taxes, uh, customer service. What's that blueprint of starting a business? And that's where I ran into a consultant. And when I had no technical skills, but I had a whole bunch of money because I was working full time, they were my first investor. Um, I had to hire contractors initially to build my website, to create the marketing plan. And so that's when I said, wait, there's 4 C's that we are missing as small business owners. And just being able to clearly have those buckets and then having that mindset allowed me to really look at any program that was being offered or something that I was considering and match it to what was it that I was trying to achieve. Did it make sense for me to invest there? Then I
Um,
realized I'm wearing all 4 hats, but go ahead.
yeah, I was just thinking about a course that I did years ago, and I think now looking back, so it was about starting your business. It was about building a way. It says sell what you know, and I really enjoyed it. And it said about setting up a website, email marketing, a whole load of things. But the reality was there was a barrier inside me that wouldn't pick up the phone or wouldn't speak to someone. So you can do all of this stuff, you can do all this technical stuff, but at the end, if you're not the one picking up the phone and asking actually, what do you want as your
Yeah,
clients or speaking to your target audience, you've built something that's just
that's
yeah,
flashy
great.
and nice. Mhm.
Yeah, I've got a load of technical skills which are just a waste. And in there, I saw a lot of people get frustrated at certain points, and you could see. And I think they would say, "Oh, well, the tech's not working. Like, yeah, I can't set this up." And then that just created confusion and noise. And you go, "This isn't." So I think a lot of people came to the course looking for a lot of different answers
Yeah,
to different things. And I think a majority of it was about sort of self belief, how to do something. People maybe wanted a different identity. They wanted to start their own business. They weren't happy where they were, maybe in a corporate job, and they were going to start something. And yes, there were a few people that absolutely took off. But I think where a lot of people got caught was this sort of, okay, just tech stuff, etc., etc. And you go, you're putting a lot of energy into something that has nothing. You're just frustrating yourself more, and your focus should be more on like a coach, almost like a life coach, as in what is it you want to do. And I'm just thinking that. now you've put that idea there, I'm like, geez, like how could I have been so silly? But I think you need to know what it is and who you are and what you're trying to get to at the beginning,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm thinking, why did I get sort of sucked into that? But I think it's the wording, the language, the vision that I was going to start a business and it was going to be amazing. I was going to make all this money. And again, kind of smoke and mirrors. It wasn't done deceptively, but I
Yeah.
bought into the language, what was being offered. And rather than face the thing that was in front of me, the thing that was, maybe look at myself, how did I view myself? I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll just build a business and then all those problems were going to go away. Yeah, that's
Well,
amazing.
what I would, and this is, I think, for the audience, I think you've picked up on it. Look for those programs and see if they're selling you the promise or the process. If they're selling you the promise, it's all of the things that we intrinsically want to achieve. The process is how we do it. And if you're really trying to move forward, you do need both, but you got to make sure it's not so heavy on just promise, promise, promise and avoiding the process, because that's the hard work. Like the promise, it depends on where you are. Some people just need the promise to get off. They know everything they need to do, but they're scared of picking up that phone. So getting past that, and the same thing with the girl with the jingle. She knew she needed a marketing plan, but she had to have that spark, right? And then knowing how to do it is important too.
Yeah. And I think, so let's just come back to AI, but just technology in general. I think that in itself can be very overwhelming. And I think that's maybe why people that are selling, these AI tools at the moment, it's obviously working, but I assume that's a very short-term business. People will buy into it, but then again, like my course, it died out at some point. It can't last forever because you need to think about something else. And I think the promise oftentimes is, okay, this is new technology. It's like a scare tactic. Okay, if you don't know AI now, you're going to be left behind and your business will be one and done. And so I think a lot of people sort of jump on that out of scare tactics, and you go, okay, and then you go, okay, but you know nothing about my business, but we're going to squeeze everything through these 5 apps that you are paid to promote, or they're the ones that you've just studied, and that's not going to fit through. So, again, I keep coming back to people, understanding people first and what's really going on, and then how does that work though? Because to understand people and what's really going on, that takes quite some time. So when you speak to people, is there a big process in understanding where they are? Is that where a lot of
Yeah.
people?
We generally have at least 3 meetings before we introduce any tools whatsoever. I can't. Most of it is, there's a little bit of pre-work on my part where I see what it is that they're trying to do. Then I'll talk to them and have them tell me what it is they're doing and see if there's a match. Then I ask the question on, why are you doing it? And if they pause, if there's any kind of hesitancy, if there's any kind of drain in it, we dig deeper, because then that normally reveals what their true motivation is, what they're really trying to achieve. And then we start identifying what are those blockers, and what you told me that you're doing versus what you want to be doing. And then we do that final piece on what is it that your customers will pay you for? Where does that align? And then we move into the tactics of actually doing that. We don't talk tools in any of those first things. I'm trying to get to know who they are, who they want their business to be, who their customer is, and what their customers need and want, and have told them they will pay them for. Not, I have this great idea and I know once I get it done, people will buy it. Okay, do a live stream. See if you do that with just a simple landing page. Then we can talk about a tool for you to build this landing page so you can't say, I don't have the tech knowledge to do it, right? Do a live stream, see if somebody buys it, see if somebody asks a question, see if there's any comments. Matter of fact, go down the street to your local farmer's market and sell it. Before you talk about AI, what are the questions that come up? What are the comments? All of those pieces. And then we can say, okay, because one person said, I need a chat bot on my website. I said, well, how much traffic do you have on your website? What do you mean traffic? So you don't have analytics on your website. So why do you think you need a chat bot? I saw it. Gary Vee was talking about you got to have AI. I'm like, and what would you have the chat bot saying to people? I don't know. And then the cycle continues. So I love it because I love talking to people and seeing those light bulbs go off
Yeah.
and really getting to the root cause of it. And that's why I love tinkering with toys, because I have a whole wheelhouse of things that I can recommend, but I'm not giving you a hammer when you need a saw.
Yeah. That's I just love your approach, because I was thinking about the courses that I've signed up for. Normally they're one sort of sales meeting, and then like you're signed up, whereas yours goes deeper. It's just like, okay, let's, like, 3 meetings is great, because they go away, think about stuff, you go away, think about stuff, and that's a genuine relationship. And I it's strange, because if you go online now, that's very much like that. They say, don't let the person get off the phone. It's just like, okay, no, like, I've struggled with that. I'm not very salesy. I do struggle sort of saying, pay me for this. But I would have no problem if I knew that person and I said, right, okay, this is, understand them really what they want. And I'm more the person that would recommend someone else and say, look, okay, I think this is going on. And that seems, in the terms of, we want to win business very quickly. I know that doesn't seem to fit, but knowing someone and building a relationship for a lot longer, they'll recommend you, and rather than, you might sell a load of courses, but, a couple of months later, you're done, because there's no connection, there's no trust, and, word spreads after a while. But your approach of, okay, just coming back 3 times, I love that. I've never really seen that. So is 3 did you always plan it that way? How did you land on 3?
Well, one thing about me, it's never planned. It's over experience. So I work with a lot of small business incubators in the city. And I just noticed over time, it would present as one thing, but in that initial conversation, there would be tears, there would be there would be so much to go over, and we never got to the thing they engaged me for, which was a marketing plan. How do I show up more online? How do I be more consistent? What do I post? When do I post? Where do I post? That's the general wheelhouse that they had me in. And I would see time and time again. So it was patterns. I watch for patterns. And that's where I came up with structure 1, we do this. Meeting 2, we do this. Meeting 3, because something happens in between each one of those, which people don't say out loud. And it's the clarity. People need clarity before they can get oriented into a system, grow their business, be more creative, whatever it is. They really need to get clear. And sometimes when you're so close to it, it does take another person not telling you what you need to do, but often mirroring back what you've already heard them say. And then I think that creates a sort of self-confidence. Like, number 1, you've heard me. And number 2, not that they need it, but you validated where I've been. And that's really important for, number 1, gaining the trust and building that real relationship. I don't want to take your money if I can't help you. So I think that's really great that you say, I'm somebody who will refer you to someone else. If I'm not the right person, I don't want you paying me. I don't want you downloading my lead magnet. don't waste your time and your effort, because at the end of the day, if your business isn't moving forward, I'm a cause for that. Right? There was a mismatch, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Um, how many people do you come across that that just want quick answers? Because we seem to want like this overnight hack. Again, I'm I'm saying these things from a place of experience. I've done it myself, and we want to, yeah, we just want instant results. And I found doing these lives that I love what I do, and I put a lot more love in care into it, and I'm really okay that it takes longer because that almost feels more worthwhile somehow.
Mhm.
Um, but when I speak to people, they just want overnight. They want something done. Press a
It's
button,
tool.
it's
Mhm.
done. Yeah. Do you experience that?
Quite a bit. Normally, and that changed how I was showing up online, because I was doing the whole tool thing where, oh, you can use Notebook LM, you can use Chat GPT. Here's the 5 prompts you should use, which creates this sense of urgency of that's the thing I need that's going to solve my problem. So I've shifted how I even show up online, because what you put out is what people are going to come to you for. And I didn't want to become known as the tool person. And so, to answer your question, 90% of people were coming to me for the quick fix. And it wasn't until I intentionally shifted how I engage with them where they're now coming to me specifically for clarity. And then we can layer a tool on if it makes sense. But um, and that's been a slow tide to turn. It's been really slow in getting. They still want, no, just tell me about how to use it. Just tell me which tool. Should I be using Gemini or Chat GPT? Or what are you putting in? I don't know.
Yeah. It's but that longevity of relationship is, I think, is really important. And I've gone from this. I think years ago, if I did something, I'd sort of say, "Oh, I'd give advice," and I've shifted from giving advice, and I don't think that I'm the right place to do that. I just I just explain what I do or the tools that I use, certainly in sort of well-being, so meditation, breath work, and stuff like that. Because I realized for myself, I don't really like advice, and something might be right for me, but it might also not be the right time. So I think about a book. If someone gave me a book, I read it, and then yeah, it's okay. And then 3 years later, my experiences, and I pick that book up again and I read it. Oh, now it makes sense to me. And I never really got that before. So I don't see myself as someone that gives advice. I kind of I can explain that there's a million tools out there, and my experience of what that is. But I don't know people well enough to sort of say, okay, do this, etc. So, and I think again, you can get caught in these things. I did this. I went through this um, process where I was getting up at 4 a.m. every
Mm,
day, and I was meditating, working out, doing affirmations, and I was just absolutely like, by 9 o'clock in the morning, I was going back to bed, and I was
oh,
like, yeah. And so aspirationally, I wanted to be one of those people that looked this way, and just smashed it every day. And I was like, no. And then I realized who I am, and I go, okay, I don't need to do all those things. I just pick one of those. Which one works for me?
yeah.
And it might be that I can drop that at some point, or it works for me. That's okay, and that's the same for everybody else. I don't, if someone's able to explain who they are, that's cool. I might be able to sort of say, okay, try this, but I wouldn't say, yeah, definitely do this. But like you say, it's more about sort of systems, patterns, and how things are working. And I can only say how things were for me. And
Yep.
sometimes you need these stepping stones. You need to go through these things to actually get to the point that you go, okay, now I'm ready. So I don't think years ago I was ready to do, LinkedIn lives. I wasn't ready to have these conversations. But all of the things that I've done in the past has allowed me to go, oh, okay. And I kind of fell into this a little bit through frustration.
Mm,
But actually, okay, now it's the point where, okay, I've got the time because I was made redundant, and I was frustrated because my other business that I thought I was going to do wasn't taking off, and this just came through just naturally, and I was frustrated. I was like, I'm going to do 2 LinkedIn lives a week, and go, oh, okay, and for none of that do I need a website or an email funnel, and it's just like, okay, yeah, and but I've signed up for those things. People have said, yeah, teach me and stuff like that, but what was missing was understanding me
Yeah.
and where I was, and that I would have been. So I would have paid a lot of money because I think people are scared about spending money. I get that, but I've spent lots of not that much money, but bits of money over the places. And if you added that up, and if you could just spend one amount of money, and you could have just moved things forward. But I don't know if that works that way. You have to spend money here and there and there. But what's your experience?
You don't. I think I'm not your traditional business person because I do it opposite of what they say you should do. I am exactly where what you were doing with the live streams. I do the action first, look for the patterns, then create the systems and containers for it. Whereas traditional teaches us that we are supposed to not do it that way. We're supposed to have all of this foundation and structure first, build it and they will come. No, no, no.
Yeah,
That so I'm probably not the right person to ask that one because I don't do it the traditional way. And I must say, for all four of my businesses, I had customers before I had websites, branding, or business cards. So it's worked
yeah,
for me. Now, would I tell everybody to do it that way? Absolutely not. But I think it's however you are most comfortable showing up as yourself, not the
mm,
representative that you're supposed to have, but as yourself and what you truly enjoy doing. Your audience, your customers will find you. And then it's up to you to put some structure around that.
yeah. I love that because I think doing these lives, I've done everything that the opposite of all the gurus will tell you,
Hmm.
and so I've done it the other way. I've done all of the other things, and now I'm doing it this way. And I have to say, I feel a bit smug about it because when everyone's zigging, I'm zagging, and
Yeah.
I'm not doing it intentionally. But I found that yeah, it just seems to move me faster, and I think it's not. I'm not doing that deliberately, but people have given me advice along the way, and I'm like, no, I have to say, it feels very like intuition to do this. It makes no business sense. I think I mentioned this before, but I'm self-funding this for a year. I'm 6 months in. Money's going out quicker than you could think
Oh, yeah.
about. But do you know what? I'm building a community of people, connections with people that had I have put selling in the way, I would not have reached them. And I'm like, okay. And I was explaining to someone the other day that the gratitude I had for the people that I've met, I'm like this is worth it alone for the money and just these conversations. And I'm like, it would take you years to do that if you were selling. And I was like, no. Uh, but other people are saying, no, you've got to sell. You're halfway through, you've got to pitch and do this. I'm like, no. And people show up because I'm not selling anything.
Mm.
And yeah, it's something. So, and it's quite difficult in that world because there are so many people out there telling you these things, and when you don't know, you don't know, right? So
Right.
you kind of look for someone that you kind of resonate with, and you try to follow them. And I think there are a lot of wrong turns, not wrong turns, but learning experiences in business. That's
Yeah. Um, it's that noise. There's I don't want to say there's too many experts and too many gurus. I think everyone is sharing what's working for them or the theory of what they think could work. And then we also have to be very mindful of affiliate marketing. The nature of online is I had one person that I used to follow, and she said something pivotal. We have to remember that the internet was created for data and dollars. You're either providing it with data or extracting the dollars. And so once we get clear on that, I think that's why it's so important that we understand ourself, our goal, our vision, what success truly means for us and what that looks like. Once we have that, it becomes at least a filtering mechanism for all of those things. I'm not saying that you're still not going to need a course or any of the other things or the tools, but oftentimes we're trying to fit in someone else's box without defining those things for ourselves first. And that's where the mismatch and the wrong comes in.
Yeah. It's it just comes back to the upfront work, right? Just understanding it. So I for a long time I've talked about values, and I've struggled with actually what my values are, because a lot of my values I just inherited from my parents.
Yeah.
And I didn't know to question those. And then when I moved away, my parents are lovely, they're great, but there are things that I want differently from my life. And I was like, oh, and it took me a long time to sort of question what it is, what were my values. And I and I think they can change the priority. They're kind of the same, but I really struggled for years to just try and work out what that was. And I think understanding ourselves, understanding what we want, and I signed up for the get rich quick stuff. I
The
thought I
4-hour work week, all of that. Yep.
yeah, and I you have to again give yourself some distance from that and understand who you are. And I think why it works a lot of the time for all of these things is if you don't know who you are, you look to someone else to kind of define you.
Yeah.
And I think that inner work, that time spent, and yeah, it can be a bit painful. You've got to uncover a few hard truths sometimes, or it might, you might be misaligned with your family or your friends or something like that. But once you get that clarity, and you've said it, things move smoother, because then you can put systems, processes, and everything on top. But doing systems and processes on first isn't going to reveal your values. I don't. Well, maybe, but it's going to cause you a lot of pain along the way.
Yeah. And this is where I would recommend a conversation with generative AI. If you don't have a paid person or something like that, have a real conversation with generative AI. Whatever tool you want, ChatGPT, Gemini, doesn't matter. Tell them exactly who you are, what you're trying to achieve, and have it ask you questions on, well, what's stopping you, and it will at least give you a starting point for what those values could be and what you make your blind spots and all of that. So I would say that would be a good starting. Maybe that's an app I'll make. Who knows?
Honestly, I think that would be really good, because I mean, I would pay for that, just purely because it took me a long time. And I think even as ourselves, so I'm a very logical person, but logic isn't always the answer. So I've had to follow my heart, especially with the business. And those two things have often been at odds with each other. But I've chosen logic over my intuition. And whenever I've done that, things have messed up. Whereas now what I'm doing is going with my heart. And it's not like I'm completely mastered that. But then when I feel that intuition and it doesn't make sense, I go, oh, okay, it's painful, but let's go that way. Let's lean that way. And to be honest, things just sort of magically open up. And I think understand that intuition is linked to values and understanding who you are as a person. I think that's, I mean, yeah. If you created me an app and I could just keep refining, just keep putting in, I would have done it. So yeah.
And one thing I'm going to say about following that intuition, you know you're on the right path when people, places, or opportunities just show up, and it just seems like a coincidence. It's like that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, Yeah. And yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. I am. So when I started doing this, I didn't have that many followers, and I was worried about rejection. And people just kept saying yes to having live streams, and I was like, hmm? I was expecting this. No, 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 go away. And I was like, why is everyone saying yes? It's very odd. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something behind this. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, just, and in the end, I just stopped questioning it and just go with it. And it's actually very fun to see that, to see the path open up for you. And one of the biggest things for me was I just committed to doing this, and that stopped everything else, like websites, signing up for loads of other things. And I still get the pull sometimes to look at the shiny object, but I'm like, no, no, is that going to contradict my ability to do these lives for the period of time that I said I was going to? And then I've got this core thing that I can keep coming back to. It's like my North Star to say, look, is this going to take me away from this or closer to it? And yeah, that's really helped me out. Because yeah, again, lots of noise, lots of things. You think that thing over there is going to be your answer to it, but and I wish I'd have come across you earlier, because I think you would have really helped me out.
Well, one thing I would say, if there's any system, like hearing you talk, it would be that email system, not to start emailing people or anything like that. But long term, um, when Periscope shut down, I had 70,000 followers. I only I had 2,000 people on my email list. So when that shut down, I immediately lost contact with over 70,000 people that had connected with me. And you're doing something with these interviews where I think long term, not thinking about monetization, it can become a curriculum, a book, or anything along those lines. And you need a way of being able to reach back out to those people who said, "Hey, I want to hear more." Or Zakia was a person on there, and maybe she wants to do another collaboration later. So having a central CRM, a simple way of capturing emails right now, not that you're going to spam people or anything like that, but just shoring up that base of people that have somehow connected, whether as a guest or someone watching the live stream, is going to be a way, it's going to be an asset that your business is going to thank you for later.
Yeah, I it's something that sits at the back of my mind, because I'm aware that LinkedIn could shut my account down, and I'm like, wow. And fortunately, the way I connect with people is that they book a call, like we spoke before. So I do capture some of that, but that's a small percentage. That's the only the people that I get to speak with. And
Mhm.
Colin, like, protect this. This is really like a big thing. Like, you've contacted these people. If you go from LinkedIn, that's how most people would find me. They'll see my content. And yeah, we assume these platforms are going to be here forever, or that you've got access to them. But it's like, yeah. And one of the things that I struggle with is that with LinkedIn, all props to LinkedIn, because it's allowed me to build what I've got. But the algorithm is always one of those things that when I signed up for LinkedIn, there was loads of people explaining how to beat the algorithm, how to do things, and I went on that journey, and I was doing all these postings at this time and doing everything daily, etc. And it got exhausting. I was
Yeah.
putting so much energy trying to beat or go viral. But why do I want to go viral? Like, I'm not like, do it. Is that who I am? Not really. It's a nice buzzword that gives you some sort of credibility, but you've gone viral for some weird thing that you had no control over. And but then I just gave up trying to beat the algorithm, because there's much more fun in just having conversations with people. If my stuff lands, it lands. And you can spend most of your day trying to post at a certain time or be online at this time. I have a family, I have friends.
Right.
I
Right.
don't want to sacrifice all of that. So, and
And
again,
then I just want to pick up on that viral piece, because for a while I thought I wanted to go viral until somebody asked me, well, If you go viral, are you prepared to ship 1,000,000 orders? Can your website take 1,000,000 people coming to it? And I think many people mistake that, and you picked up on it. It's a number, but what do you do with that number? How does it translate to, if you're in business, how does it translate into revenue for your business or something that you can leverage for your business? Otherwise, it's that external stamp and that external validation of strangers who, how are you going to leverage? So anybody who's thinking about that virality thing, um, why does it matter? Why do you care? And then move on from there. Are you prepared for it? Right. So I'm glad you said, what do I want to go viral for? That's not the goal.
Yeah, I am. One of the things when I started, I started to every week track my followers on LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
um, and then it was just a way to motivate me to see that I was moving forward. And then I got to 3,000 followers, and for some reason, I thought the sky was going to open, and sort of God was going to shine His light, and everything was going to go great. And then I was like, no, nothing happened. And then I was like, oh, okay. So then I realized it was good to get me going, good to motivate me, but I hold no. I still look. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There is this nice thing to go. Okay, but I would much rather have a much less followers, but that really connect with what I'm talking about, and that I could go out to those people and they go, yeah, absolutely, I love what you're doing, rather than have, I don't know, 1 million followers and everyone goes, yeah, nice, bye.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah.
And the industry is picking up on that as well. That term, micro influencer, those people who
Okay.
have the much smaller audiences have a much higher engaged audience than those people with millions, because you're speaking to the masses and not to the individual that you've connected with or the individuals. So those people with less than 5,000 are highly sought after for brand deals and partnerships on the monetization side. So there's some good to being small.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I'm very conscious of the time, but I
Oh,
think we
yeah.
could talk all day. But I think we have these messages, and people keep saying, "Oh, yeah, I want to grow. I want to do this. I want to do this." And I'm like, "Why do you want to grow?" We seem to think that growing is the only way, but I'm like, No, because I think if you understand what you want your business to be or how you want your life to be, then you can make decisions. And people go, "Yeah, I want to." Just go nuts. And you go, well, no, but that goes away against what you actually want for yourself. And so it's easy to look outside and go, oh yeah, people celebrating these weird metrics or these weird things. But I would say in my contact list now, I have met some amazing people that I could, if I went to them, and you are one of these, and I've told you that, um, they would help me out and they would give me advice. That, how much is that worth to me? Like, that's
Yeah.
beyond money to me.
Mhm.
And I go, okay. And I could help out you. You seem to know so much more than I do, but that is worth something. And I would have, I'm so much more grateful to have put the time and effort into those relationships than go, no, moving on, moving on, moving on. So,
Nice. Nice. Well,
yeah.
I have you in my Rolodex as well, so I'll be reaching out.
Nice, fantastic. So I'm conscious of time. Honestly, Zakia is so amazing. I think your wisdom, your honesty, the ability to see these patterns and everything play out, but your humility and knowing and wanting to help people, fantastic. There's not many people I come across like you. Um, and yeah, it's just a joy. And I hope people get to see more of you. If people are to follow you, where is the best place? Is it LinkedIn where I found you, or where do you want people to
LinkedIn
go?
is a great starting point. They can also go to businesstechlab.com, and that's where they can see a lot of this that I've been talking about here. And then there's also a free, no money, if you're somebody who's a little bit struggling on what system and where to start, there's a free consultation right on the website where you can click there. We can talk for 15 minutes and find out what you need to do next. No sales at all.
Nice. I'm gonna take opportunity and I'm gonna click on it. Fantastic. Okay, so I will repost this in LinkedIn. I'll put links to that website as well. So for today, fantastic. I'm sure if there's any comments or anything, we'll do a round two. But yeah, again, I'm so grateful for you being in my contact list now, and thank you for giving me the time today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Colin. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the holidays.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.